Somalia federal and regional leaders have been meeting in Mogadishu to review a recently adopted electoral agreement. Somalia's Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Roble says the leaders are analyzing the achievements that have been made since the agreement was signed last month. A panel set up by Roble is expected to present plans for the poll, including a timetable for parliamentary, senatorial, and presidential elections. Somali leaders accepted to hold elections within 60 days after months of tensions between political factions in the country. Joining us is Mohammed Ibrahim Shire, senior lecturer in the security risk at the University of Portsmouth in the United Kingdom. Mohammed, thank you. Welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us here on Africa Live. Now, in July this year, Mohammed, Africa hopes to see Somalia finally hold their elections. How significant are these elections?
Well, the scheduled election is significant for various reasons. Now, Somalia was due to hold an election in February this year, but that did not happen because Somali leaders failed to agree on how to implement the 2020 September electoral agreement. Some federal member states, such as Jubaland and Puntland, had some prior preconditions attached to holding the elections. Now, these disagreements initially dragged on for quite some time. Finally, the Somali parliament intervened and extended President Farmajo's term by 2 years, which, exacerbated the situation quite significantly. And obviously that led to skirmishes between the pro-opposition forces in Somalia and Somali security forces in the capital, Mogadishu. However, cooler heads prevailed on 27th of May, where Prime Minister Mohamed Roble and some of the federal member states came together and agreed and signed an agreement that paved the way for the implementation of the 2020 electoral agreement without any conditions. And I think that's quite significant. Now, as you have said, that federal members are due to meet today, provide an update on how the implementation is going, and perhaps provide a fixed date for both the parliamentary and the presidential election that should be happening as soon as possible. Having said that, any pause in the current momentum in holding the elections as soon as possible will undoubtedly lead to some return of violence that we witnessed in April this year. So, more importantly, also the Somali government and its international partners, again, have been battling Al-Shabaab, the surgery group, for quite some time. And any delays in holding the election will significantly weaken the counterinsurgent operation against Al-Shabaab and also provides Al-Shabaab with a breathing space to conduct complex attacks in Somalia.
All right, Mohammed, we certainly hope those elections get underway. But speaking of elections, Ethiopia too held its long delayed elections, whose results are due today, Sunday. How is the outcome likely to impact the country and the Horn of Africa region?
Well, Ethiopia has held its election amidst major challenges. However, the fact that it was held is quite important and quite also significant because it's a turning point. Abiy Ahmed Prosperity Party has a distinct advantage over other parties, but also the party and himself, they're quite popular amongst most Ethiopians. But what is important is the legitimacy that comes with it. Remember that Abiy Ahmed government has long been seen by many critics as a caretaker administration, okay, that emerged from the resignation of Haile Mariam Desalegn in 2018. So an electoral victory by the Prosperity Party will confirm him with a much needed legitimacy and political capital to continue his reforms. Our key question is whether he will use that capital to effectively address the ongoing conflict in the Tigray region and also the inter-ethnic violence that's happening in parts of Ethiopia, while also at the same time ramping up the democratization efforts that should turn Ethiopia into a full-fledged democracy.
All right. That brings us to our final question. One more question, if you would indulge me. The Horn of Africa has been faced with insecurity and political wrangling. Why? And how can these be resolved?
I'm always of the opinion, I always believe that some sort of local-led dialogue and political settlements are needed to dampen the political wrangling and insecurity in the Horn of Africa. Now, Somalis have a saying, a proverb, meaning if there's some form of dialogue, there's a great chance that we might come to an agreement. Now, in the context of Somalia, not only do I believe that Somalia's federal member states and the federal leaders should um, always have dialogue as as the best option, this also should entertain opening up some form of dialogue with Al-Shabaab in ending Somalia's protracted conflict.